Hey everyone. Welcome to AfriHeart Stories, your go-to spot for African tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe and drop a comment. Now sit back and enjoy. Amara's chest tightened as she stepped from the late afternoon heat into the marble foyer of her in-laws' Lagos mansion. Her heart fluttered as she recalled the message she'd received at noon, a formal invitation to dinner from her mother-in-law, Ivory Essence. Theirs had been months of cold shoulders, curt replies and nightly silences at home. Yet tonight, Dami had agreed without hesitation. Suspicion coiled in Amara's stomach, but she inhaled deeply, straightened her posture, and entered the grand dining hall. Crystal chandeliers cast prisms of light across polished mahogany as 12 relatives in tailored outfits murmured greetings. Amara smoothed the fabric of her emerald silk dress, her armor of elegance, then allowed a polite smile to settle on her face. The long dining table gleamed under candlelight, each place set with silver chargers, fine china, and crystal glasses brimming with pomegranate-infused water. Aromas of spiced lamb stew and cinnamon-scented couscous filled the air. Ivory, her mother-in-law, nodded approvingly from her seat opposite a neatly coiffed Dami. He avoided Amara's gaze as he guided her to the head of the table. Conversation fluttered between small talk and loaded pauses. Uncle Bayo praised the chef's exotic touches. Cousin Saad commented on Dami's upcoming campaign speech. Somewhere beyond the embroidered curtains, the soft hum of evening traffic reminded Amara of the world outside this manicured cage. Each laugh seemed forced, each nod weighed with tension. As the first course was served, Dami cleared his throat. Every head turned. In a single decisive motion, he placed a cream-colored envelope before Amara. Her pulse thundered in her ears. "I think it's time," he said, voice steady but hollow. "These are the divorce papers." A collective gasp reverberated beneath the vaulted ceiling. A silver napkin fluttered to the floor. Amara's vision blurred with the rustle of shocked breath. Her mind spun but her face remained calm. With careful composure, she extended one slender hand, slid the envelope aside, and in a fluid gesture produced a worn leather-bound journal from her clutch. "I have something for you as well," she announced, voice soft yet unyielding. She opened the journal, exposing meticulously tabulated receipts, photographs, and email printouts. Confusion rippled around the table. Ivory clutched her pearls. Sada's eyes widened in disbelief. Uncle Bayo's jaw clenched. Amara met Dami's gaze. "While you've drafted words to end our marriage, I've compiled truths that justify why it should end." Silence enveloped them like a shroud. The first move had been made, and Amara was ready. Under the glow of crystal prisms, Amara flipped to the first page. A hush fell as she traced a crooked line of entries linking Dami's campaign war chest to offshore accounts. Candlelight flickered on the silver rim of her reading glasses. She tapped a photograph of Dami meeting a shadowy figure in a dimly lit parking garage. "Here," she said, voice unwavering. "A hush money exchange, cash in unmarked envelopes." She advanced to the next page. An email transcript between Dami and his vice candidate, threatening to expose each other if demands weren't met. Ivory's hand flew to her mouth. Sada's fork clattered against her plate. Amara continued, enumerating late-night calls she'd fielded when Dami's phone rang with coded threats, nights she'd waited up until dawn for his return, soothing him through tremors of guilt. She described his practice of wearing disguises to avoid detection at clandestine meetings. Each anecdote cut deeper than the last. Aunt Funmi's voice quivered. "Dami, is this true?" His throat bobbed. Tongue-tied, he opened his mouth to protest, but Amara held up a black audio recorder. She pressed play. Dami's own voice emerged, admitting to ballot manipulation and coercion. The hush deepened into stunned disbelief. Amara closed the journal with a decisive snap. The room felt smaller, charged with betrayal. She finally exhaled. "Do you deny any of this?" she asked. Dami's lips parted, but no words came. Around the table, loyal alliances fractured. Expressions ranged from indignation to sorrow. Amara's evidence had struck true, detonating the facade of Dami's spotless reputation. Tension rippled through the room as Dami's parents retreated to the table's far corner, whispering urgently. Amara watched their whispered conference, each exchange echoing like battlefield strategy. Her journal sat open at her elbow, its pages now the pivot upon which family loyalty teetered. She cleared her throat and addressed Ivory and her father-in-law directly. "You sacrificed your daughter's peace, her reputation, her emotional well-being." Ivory's teary gaze met Amara's unflinching stare. Amara recounted her sacrifices, devoting her nights to Dami's endless campaign trail, canceling her own research presentations, volunteering at charity events as a prop to bolster his image. The family shifted uncomfortably. One by one, they recalled her unwavering support and his cold detachment. Then Amara revealed her trump card, a covertly recorded confession of Dami admitting to orchestrating voter fraud. She lifted her phone, played the file. His voice, unmasked, wove through the room, stripping away any remaining illusions. Dami's face paled, he sank into his chair. Allies nodded slowly around the table, their eyes steering away from him. Amara stood tall, journal in hand. The coup was complete. With silent dignity, she reclaimed the power he once wielded over her. After the explosive dinner, the mansion lay cloaked in midnight stillness. Amara slipped into the rose garden, cool moonlight brushing her cheek. The scent of night-blooming jasmine mingled with memories, laughter echoing by street food carts, their whispered dreams beneath a starlit sky. She pressed her journal to her chest, its leather cover worn by her trembling hands. She settled onto a wrought iron bench beneath a jacaranda tree. Her fingers traced the entries, a testament to love twisted by betrayal. A flashback bloomed, their first date, his shy smile under Lagos lanterns, promise whispered against the humidity. Her breath caught. She closed her eyes, tears slipping silently. In the study's bay window, Dami sat hunched before ancestral portraits. His reflection flickered in the glass, a man stripped of stature. Through a cracked window, Amara overheard him dialing his PR consultant. "Lucy," he whispered, voice tight with desperation. "We need a narrative. Fast." A surge of resolve warmed Amara's chest. This was not merely a divorce, it was reclamation of truth, self, and legacy. She rose, journal tucked under one arm, and retreated toward the house. Tomorrow her fight would become everyone's story. Dawn found Amara in her home study, sunlight filtering through linen drapes. Spread before her lay printed evidence. Bank ledgers, surveillance stills, encrypted email threads. She sipped strong black coffee, mind racing. Today she would mobilize. Layla, her best friend and a formidable divorce attorney, arrived first. She crossed her arms, surveying the dossier. "This is airtight," Layla said, flipping through pages. "Your grounds, fraud, infidelity, emotional abuse, will stand." Next came Obi, a forensic accountant whose meticulous eye had tracked Dami's offshore accounts. He tapped spreadsheet cells with assurance. "I've traced every wire transfer from shell company to shell company. No gaps." Lastly, Nkem, an investigative journalist famed for exposing corruption, joined them. She placed a secure USB drive on the desk. "Primetime slot confirmed. Tonight at 9 they'll air your story." Her gaze met Amara's. "When they see this, there's no turning back." They formed a circle around the desk. Amara outlined a three-pronged plan. File for divorce immediately, coordinate the media exposé, issue a public statement emphasizing dignity and transparency. Layla tapped her pen. "I'll draft the petition today. You'll need to submit by tomorrow morning." Obi nodded. "I'll prepare asset freeze motions and forensic reports for the judge." Nkem smiled wryly. "I'll handle the newsroom liaison. After the broadcast, we pivot to Q&A, social media blitz, fact-check releases." Amara looked at each of them, gratitude and determination blazing in her eyes. "Thank you. This isn't just about ending a marriage. It's about exposing a system that protected him and letting the world see the truth." They worked through lunch, rehearsing her public address, refining timelines, securing backup evidence. Every piece fit into place like the final turn of a lock. As Obi packed files into a secure case and Layla organized court forms, Amara tapped send on an encrypted email to Nkem. Her dossier flew into the public sphere. Outside, a warm breeze rustled blooming frangipani. Inside, Amara felt a surge of empowerment. Her allies were at her side, her strategy set. The next move belonged to her, and to truth. Under a starless Lagos sky, Amara crouched behind a low hedge across the street from Dami's campaign headquarters. She pressed a hand to the damp grass, heartbeat thundering. Beside her, Nkem's flashlight danced over the wrought iron gate before they slipped inside the deserted courtyard. The night was thick with tension. Every rustle of palm fronds sounded like a sentinel's footstep. Armed with Obi's meticulously crafted exploit scripts, Nkem guided Amara past security cameras, disabling each feed with nimble keystrokes. Their footsteps echoed as they entered the dimly lit operations room, rows of monitors flickering with campaign data. Amara paused at one console, scanning logs for deleted files. "There," she whispered, pointing at a timestamp. 2:17 a.m., files wiped after the bribery transfer. Nkem nodded, fingers dancing across the keyboard. A progress bar inched upward on her laptop screen. Behind them, the hum of a backup generator deepened, amplifying nerves. Amara's breath came shallow. Memories of Dami's smug smile surfaced, how he charmed donors with honeyed promises as he pocketed illicit funds. Suddenly the door creaked. Amara stifled a gasp. Nkem froze, eyes wide. A shadow passed beyond the frosted glass. "We need those files now," Amara hissed. With lightning speed, Nkem inserted a secure flash drive and started the copy. Data scrolled in torrents of green text. Outside, boots approached. Amara slipped behind a filing cabinet as two security guards entered, flashlights probing the room. Their beams swept the corner where Nkem crouched. Nkem bit her lip, praying the copied files would finish. The guard lifted his flashlight, then turned away. "Got it?" Nkem mouthed. She extracted the drive and slipped it into Amara's hand. Together, they retraced their steps across the courtyard. At the gate, Nkem planted a time script that would loop camera feeds for 10 minutes, just enough to cover their exit. They melted into the shadows. Once safely outside, Amara exhaled, sweat prickling her brow. She held the flash drive aloft against the night sky like a trophy. "On to Nkem's broadcast," she murmured. Tomorrow the world would see how deeply Dami's corruption ran, rooted in bribes sustained by fear. This was only the beginning. At 9 p.m. sharp, Lagos Television's primetime news broke with a blistering exposé, "Betrayal at the top, inside Dami's dark campaign." On screen, Nkem stood poised next to Amara, who wore a simple white blouse and calm determination. Behind them, a scrolling ticker displayed offshore account balances and time-stamped video clips. The newsroom's floodlights illuminated both women as they presented the evidence retrieved from the flash drive. Amara spoke with unwavering clarity. "These documents show how campaign donations were laundered through shell companies," she said, voice steady. "This audio confirms Dami's instructions to falsify ballot counts." Clips of Dami's recorded admission played, his voice echoing through living rooms across Nigeria. In homes, offices, and salon stalls, viewers sat riveted. Phones lit up with hashtags, #DamiExposed and #AmaraSpeaks, trending within minutes. Social media feeds filled with shocked commentary. Amara's heart pounded, but she held her composure. This was her reckoning. Back at the mansion, Ivory watched the broadcast through trembling fingers. Dami sat next to her, silence suffocating. His campaign team scrambled to issue a denial, but Amara's evidence overshadowed every refutation. Press releases rang hollow against the unassailable documents. In the control room, Nkem fielded calls from journalists begging for interviews. Amara agreed to a live Q&A, answering tough questions with poise. When an anchor asked about her motive, she replied, "My motive is truth. I stand here for every citizen betrayed by false promises." As cameras panned to reaction shots, veteran political analysts, ordinary voters, former allies, Amara's courage resonated. The segment closed on her unyielding gaze, and Lagos Television cut to commercials. Amara stepped off set to applause from crews. She felt a wave of relief and danger in equal measure. The world now knew Dami's facade. The next battle would shift from screens to courtrooms, and she was ready. At dawn, Amara sat with Layla in the mahogany-paneled offices of Lakeshore Chambers. Layla filed the divorce petition and an asset freeze motion. "We'll cite fraud, emotional abuse and infidelity," Layla explained, organizing exhibits. "With the media fallout, the judge will likely grant provisional remedies." Obi delivered the forensic analysis, annotating each bank statement and transaction. He highlighted discrepancies that left no room for denial: shell company ledgers, unaccounted cash flows, and timestamps that coincided with campaign events. Layla uploaded these as electronic evidence for the court. Amara's stomach twisted as she prepared her affidavit, recalling nights spent deciphering spreadsheets and consoling staffers threatened by Dami's operatives. Each memory fueled her resolve. In the courtroom gallery, family members watched in stunned silence. Dami's defense team fumed as Layla presented a folder heavy with subpoenas and affidavits. The judge, an elder jurist renowned for impartiality, reviewed each page with keen attention. When oral arguments began, Layla spoke first. She folded her notes and looked across at Dami's counsel. "Your client manipulated funds, threatened witnesses, and betrayed this marriage's foundation," she declared. "The court must act to preserve evidence and protect third parties." She detailed the asset freeze protocol. Dami's lawyer argued technicalities, procedural errors, chain of custody concerns, but the judge's expression remained unreadable. After brief deliberation, the gavel fell. Provisional measures are granted. Defendants' accounts are frozen, marital assets placed in trust, and occupancy of the family residence temporarily awarded to the petitioner. A collective gasp. Amara exhaled relief. Outside, reporters clamored. Flashbulbs popped. Amara navigated the press pack gracefully, restating her commitment to justice. She stepped into the sunlight, shielded her eyes, and allowed a small, triumphant smile. The legal crosshairs had shifted, and Amara was holding steady. Days later, Amara convened a family council in the mansion's drawing room, without Dami. Ivory, tear-streaked but resolute, sat beside Saad, whose hands shook around a teacup. Other relatives formed a semicircle, eyes flicking from Amara to each other. Amara began, "This family was built on trust. That trust was violated." Saad stood, voice quivering yet firm. "I was afraid to speak, but I cannot defend lies," she confessed. She produced internal campaign memos showing instructions to suppress negative stories. Ivory nodded, tears in her eyes. "I raised a son I thought would serve the public," she said. "I was wrong." Brother joined sister as more relatives shared accounts of hush payments they'd ignored to protect the family name. Each admission was another shard of shattered loyalty. Amara listened, absorbing their remorse like a balm for her wounded pride. When all had spoken, Ivory reached across and clasped Amara's hand. "You led with truth," she said softly. "Our allegiance has changed." Amara allowed herself a rare moment of warmth. The fractured family, once Dami's staunch base, now rallied around her. Their support fortified her for the battles ahead. With her legal victories public, Amara faced a new front: smear tactics. Overnight, fake social media accounts surfaced, accusing her of falsifying credentials and orchestrating a hit-and-run scandal. A doctored video clip showed her entering a luxury hotel with an unidentified man, completely fabricated. Trolls flooded her inbox with hate. Amara convened Obi and Layla in her study. He traced IP addresses to a PR firm linked to Dami's campaign. Layla drafted defamation notices and prepared to file a countersuit. Amara recorded a calm video addressing allegations head-on. "I will not be distracted by lies," she said, voice steady. "We have evidence to prove my innocence and I will show it." She posted the video across platforms. The response was immediate. Supporters rallied with hashtags like #StandWithAmara. Journalists fact-checked the hotel footage and exposed its manipulators. At a televised roundtable, Amara appeared with Nkem, dissecting the fabrications in real time. Each false claim unraveled under scrutiny, and public sympathy swung further in her favor. By night's end, the smear campaign lay in tatters. Amara retreated to her balcony, gazing at the city lights. The war was far from over, but tonight she had navigated the crossfire, and emerged stronger. 2 days later, a cryptic message arrived on Nkem's secure line. A former political aide wanted to testify. Amara arranged a clandestine meeting at a discreet safe house on the city's outskirts. Under a canopy of palms, she met Baba Kunnel, a man whose trembling hands betrayed his fear. He stepped from the shadows clutching a memory card and a folder bulging with sworn statements. "I have recordings," he whispered, voice hushed. "Bribes, threats, everything." He slid the card across a rickety table. Amara's pulse raced. She reviewed the grainy clips. Dami accepting wads of cash, ordering subordinates to silence dissent, threatening to ruin reputations. Each frame was a nail in his coffin. As Kunnel detailed how Dami's operatives had coerced journalists and intimidated voters, Amara jotted notes. She offered him water, her mind already mapping the next steps: secure his testimony, ensure his safety, and integrate his evidence into their legal arsenal. But as they spoke, the safe house's rusty gate screeched. Kunnel froze. Amara's eyes darted, her instincts flared. Footsteps, guards or assassins, approaching. She seized Kunnel's arm. "We move now," she hissed. They slipped through back corridors. Kunnel's heartbeat thundered in his ears. Amara kept him calm with quiet instructions, guiding him to a concealed exit. They reached an unmarked SUV. She ushered him inside, sealing the door. As the engine roared to life, Amara glanced at Kunnel's grateful, terrified face. His testimony would be the linchpin, if they could protect him long enough to present it. That night, under a new moon, Amara and her security detail struck. Dami's PR firm had underestimated her reach. She now targeted the shadowy operatives who disrupted Kunnel's life. Clad in dark suits, they approached a fortified warehouse where compromising documents were stored. Obi disabled alarms while Layla coordinated communications. Amara led the extraction team inside, breathing in the warehouse's oily air. Rows of filing cabinets loomed. Nkem, wielding a grenade-shaped flashlight, located the designated cabinet. She yanked open drawers, stacks of clandestine files and videocassettes spilled out. Amara scooped them into secure briefcases. Suddenly, floodlights snapped on. Shouts echoed. Dami's mercenaries stormed the entryway. A firefight erupted, rubber bullets thudding against metal shelves. Amara crouched behind crates as chaos roared. She barked orders. Her team retaliated with stun grenades and smoke canisters, creating cover. Layla slipped away with 2 briefcases. Obi helped Kunnel, brought along for identity verification, toward an exit corridor. Amara stayed to retrieve the final drive from a locked safe. She picked the lock with trembling fingers, heart pounding in her ears. A guard's silhouette loomed. She twisted, seized her pistol, and fired a warning shot into the ceiling. The guard staggered backward, stunned. Amara yanked the drive and sprinted for the exit. She vaulted out just as the warehouse doors crashed open behind her. Outside, armored vehicles waited. Doors slammed and Amara slid inside. The convoy peeled away, sirens wailing as they vanished into the night. Sweat and adrenaline coursed through Amara's veins. They had won the heist, now the real trial awaited. The packed courtroom buzzed with anticipation. Reporters lined the back row. Flashes popped as Amara entered, flanked by Layla and Obi. Across the aisle, Dami's counsel wore austere expressions. The judge's gavel knocked and silence fell. Layla opened with a commanding address. Your Honor, we present sworn testimony from Baba Kunnel, corroborated by physical evidence recovered in the recent extraction. She signaled Orion, the court officer, who handed the judge the memory card and briefcases of documents. Kunnel took the stand, his voice faltering at first. Under oath, he recounted Dami's threats to silence whistleblowers, the mechanics of bribery payments, and the manipulation of election results. With each revelation, the courtroom hung on his every word. Dami's lawyers attacked Kunnel's credibility, questioning his motives, suggesting coercion. Amara rose, voice calm but firm, and cross-examined. She produced records of Kunnel's prior service, his unblemished reputation, and corroborating audio recordings. The defense faltered. Next, Amara's team presented the night of the heist footage. The judge watched as the stolen files illuminated Dami's clandestine network. His eyes narrowed. When Dami's own recorded confession from Amara's earlier broadcast played again, murmurs rippled through the benches. In closing, Layla urged the court to consider the pattern: systematic corruption, intimidation, and betrayal of public trust. The judge, visibly moved, announced he would render a verdict after reviewing the newly submitted materials. As he adjourned, cameras swarmed. Amara, heart pounding, met Kunnel's grateful nod. The courtroom showdown had been a triumph, but the final blow was yet to come. At home, late into the evening, Amara pored over encrypted drives. One file remained unopened, a video confession Dami had recorded in private months ago, meant as a contingency but never deleted. Her pulse quickened as she clicked play. Dami's face filled the screen, eyes red-rimmed, voice heavy with remorse. He detailed every illicit deal: offshore transfers, witness tampering, and orchestrated ballot fraud. His admission was candid, raw, no evasion, no excuses. He confessed to leveraging political power to muzzle opponents and manipulate loved ones. Amara's breath caught. This video would end the saga unequivocally. She closed her eyes, picturing the judge's reaction, the public's shock, his own words sealing his fate. She drafted an email, a simultaneous submission of the video to the court clerk and to Nkem for a national broadcast. As dawn's first light crept over Lagos, the video aired on every channel. Viewers watched in stunned silence as Dami confessed to crimes that would echo across the nation. Headlines screamed betrayal and redemption. Social media erupted with outrage. Moments later, the court received the submission. Amara arrived early, folder in hand, confronting Dami's hollow gaze. She handed the clerk the sealed envelope and watched as the video played on the courtroom screens. The judge paused the session, reviewing the confession's timestamp. The final bombshell had landed. Dami's fate hinged not on hearsay or documents, but on his own voice admitting guilt. Amara stepped back, pulse steady. Justice was imminent. A week later, the historic ruling came. The courtroom filled with murmurs as the judge read aloud: guilty on multiple counts of fraud, corruption, and emotional abuse. Dami's shoulders slumped, his eyes fixed on the polished floor. Outside, crowds gathered, citizens chanting Amara's name, journalists vying for her statement. She emerged through courthouse doors flanked by Layla and Obi. Flashbulbs popped as she raised a composed hand and spoke. Today's verdict is more than personal justice. It is a victory for every person betrayed by corruption and deceit. The press swarmed with questions about reforms, accountability, and lessons learned. Amara stressed the need for transparency and systemic change. Saad and Ivory, tearful but proud, joined her side. Reporters captured candid embraces, symbolic of a family reborn in integrity. Dami, meanwhile, faced immediate removal from the electoral roll and potential imprisonment. His family watched from the gallery, their legacy tarnished. As the crowd dispersed, Amara looked back at the courthouse steps. She felt a complex swell of relief and sorrow, relief that justice prevailed, sorrow for a marriage that ended in betrayal. Yet in her heart, a seed of hope took root, the promise of rebuilding a life founded on truth. The week following the verdict felt surreal. Amara woke before dawn, sunlight cutting through pale curtains as she prepared tea in her modest kitchen, once the center of her and Dami's shared mornings. The ritual comforted her. Steaming cup in hand, she reviewed messages of support from colleagues and friends. Yet beneath the triumph lay an ache for the life she'd built and lost. She crossed to her home office, shelves lined with medical journals and research awards, her first love before marriage. Her grant proposal for a women's health initiative lay incomplete, abandoned for months. Determined, she reopened the document, fingers poised above the keyboard. Flashbacks of Dami's demands surfaced. Late-night campaign events, empty apologies, missed birthdays. She shook them off and typed the opening line. This study aims to improve maternal healthcare outcomes in underserved Lagos communities. By noon, she'd rewritten half the proposal. Layla visited with news. The court had scheduled the final divorce decree hearing for next month, and trustees would begin dividing marital assets. Her lawyer's optimism shone through. The evidence was unassailable. Still, Amara felt raw vulnerability trusting her own future to legal processes. She returned to the community clinic where she once volunteered. Nurses greeted her with warmth, patients thanked her by name. The hum of activity reminded her of purpose beyond headlines. Children's laughter filled brightly painted hallways. A mother gifted Amara a bouquet of hibiscus, eyes shining. "Thank you for giving us hope," she said. Amara blinked back tears. That evening she hosted Obi and Kem at her home. They toasted to new beginnings, reflecting on battles won and friends made. Kem raised her glass. "You reclaimed more than your name, you reclaimed your destiny." Obi nodded. "The clinic is your next frontier." Amara closed her eyes, leaning into their camaraderie. Her heart felt both heavy and buoyant. The wreckage of betrayal still scattered around her, but she was gathering the pieces, forging something stronger. Dressed in a crisp white lab coat, Amara stood before a crowd at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the new Women's Wellness Center in Lagos Island's most underserved district. The center's modern facade gleamed beside the dusty street, solar panels crowning the roof. Community leaders, health officials, and residents gathered beneath colorful banners. Layla handed her oversized scissors with a playful wink. Amara smiled and snipped the ribbon. Applause erupted. She mounted the podium, inhaled deeply, and began her speech. "Today we celebrate more than a building. We celebrate a commitment to women's health, dignity, and empowerment." Cameras clicked as she outlined the center's services: prenatal care, mental health counseling, and vocational training. Afterward, she toured the facility. In the exam rooms, nurses demonstrated new equipment. In the counseling area, social workers offered supportive words. She visited a nutrition class, where mothers learned to prepare balanced meals on a budget. Everywhere she looked, hope bloomed. At day's end, she joined community organizers for tea under a mango tree in the courtyard. A former political rival approached, extending her hand. "I see your fight was not for personal glory but for justice," she said. Their handshake felt like an olive branch, proof that change could unite, not divide. Walking home as sunset painted the sky in fiery hues, Amara reflected on her journey. Betrayed, humiliated, and uprooted, yet here she stood, a catalyst for positive change. Lagos hummed with possibility around her. By reclaiming truth, she had created space for transformation. 2 months later, Amara volunteered at a pediatric outreach program in a riverside slum. Clutching medical supplies, she entered a makeshift clinic in a corrugated iron shed. Inside, children's laughter mixed with cries of hunger and fear. She administered vaccines, soothed frightened toddlers, and offered mothers advice on nutrition and hygiene. As she examined a febrile child, a gentle voice interrupted. May I assist? She looked up into the warm eyes of Idris Bello, a pediatrician with a shy smile and calm demeanor. He introduced himself and quickly settled into comfortable teamwork. His bedside manner gentle, his humor softening crying children. Throughout the day they shared stories. Idris spoke of losing his wife to illness years ago and founding a small children's center in her memory. Amara shared her journey of betrayal and rebirth, careful to keep details professional but honest. Their mutual dedication bridged the gap between stranger and confidants. After the clinic closed, they sat on a mud brick ledge overlooking the river, golden light dancing on the water. They spoke of dreams, expanding health services, training local midwives, and conducting research. As dusk deepened, Idris brushed a stray hair behind Amara's ear with gentle familiarity. Her heart fluttered, an unfamiliar warmth after months of battle. He walked her home under festoon lights lining the neighborhood market. Standing at her gate they paused. "Would you join me for coffee tomorrow?" he asked shyly. Amara smiled, nodding. "I'd like that." As she watched his figure fade into amber streetlight, she realized life's possibilities extended beyond her past. Perhaps in healing others she could heal anew. Amara perched at her desk, pen in hand, charting a research proposal for Idris's Children's Center. A joint study on childhood malnutrition and maternal education. Morning light streamed through her window, illuminating sticky notes and journal clippings. The journal she once used to document Dami's betrayal now brimmed with graphs, hypotheses, and project timelines. A knock sounded. Idris entered with 2 cappuccinos. He offered one to her before slipping onto the chair opposite. "I drafted some project aims," he said, sliding a folder across. They reviewed it together, merging clinical insight with Amara's research expertise. Their collaboration felt effortless. Laughter punctuated the technical discussions as they debated sample sizes and data collection methods. In a sudden moment of levity, Idris tickled her hand with a pen. Amara's laughter rang clear, an unburdened sound that warmed her. Later they took a break on her balcony overlooking the city. The hum of traffic below served as a reminder that life moved forward, unstoppable. Idris took her hand. "I'm glad we met," he said softly. Amara squeezed his hand, her heart swelling. She closed her eyes, inhaling the breeze. The future lay before her, unwritten but bright. With Idris by her side and a community to serve, her past felt like a chapter closed, not a sentence. 6 months after the trial, Amara stood at the gala celebrating the Women's Wellness Center's first anniversary. Beneath crystal chandeliers in a grand hotel ballroom, supporters, donors, and community leaders mingled. She wore a sapphire gown that shimmered against her skin, a symbol of resilience. As she accepted a humanitarian award, flashes illuminated her smile. She delivered a short, heartfelt speech about truth, perseverance, and collective responsibility. Applause thundered as she stepped off the stage. Among the crowd, Ivory's graceful figure approached, carrying a small ornate wooden box. Surprised, Amara followed Ivory to a quiet corner. "I have something for you," Ivory said, hands trembling. Inside the box lay an antique locket and a faded pressed flower. Ivory explained, it belonged to her late mother, Dami's grandmother, who had admired Amara's integrity. She had kept it safe, waiting for the right moment to pass it on. Amara traced her fingers over the delicate petals, tears misting her eyes. The locket bore an inscription in Yoruba, "Iwabulini enmu ola wa," gentle character brings honor. Closing the box, Ivory embraced Amara. "You brought honor back to our family." In that moment, Amara felt the weight of her journey, from betrayal to vindication, from loss to love, to be completed by this unexpected legacy. The gala's music swelled. As she stepped back into the crowd, locket resting against her heart, she realized her story would inspire generations, proof that truth and resilience endure beyond any storm. Liked it? Thumbs up, subscribe, and join the AfriHeart fam. Your support fuels our stories. Until next time.